listen. That doesn't help the stress level. No, don't do it. Get a grip. This stupid video I just showed you. I almost stroked out and died over it. You're watching a different show. You donkey. You ain't a captain of nothing but a sinking ship. Don't do this to me, Harry. The Ohio State. It's Ohio State. What do you mean, the? 312-988-15.
Hello?
You tell Johnny all you've heard and seen. Sometimes it's good to just yell about football. Yeah, that's right. That's right. What's going on, folks? Welcome in. Welcome back. It is Georgia Tech Eve. There is a lot on the line for Notre Dame. There's a lot to discuss. There's a lot to talk about. We could take it wherever you guys want to go today. I'm totally fine with it. An open forum Friday, whatever you want to call it. Welcome in. Welcome back. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Notre Dame's march towards... I don't know what it's a march towards. I just know you just need to keep winning these games. I'm not sure exactly where we're marching towards or what the high-end possibility for this team is if they win out. I'm not sure. Like, I'm holding out hope. I'm fighting this in my mind. I'm holding out hope that in the midst of all of these injuries, Notre Dame's defense can keep playing really, really solid top 10 football and next man in actually works for them and they have that depth and whatever. And then hope that the offense keeps getting a little incrementally better and better and better and better. The last 3 games, Riley Leonard, really good. The stats are going up, whatever. That's kind of my hope. On the high end, on the really, really high end, that's what I'm hoping to see, right? Like those injuries don't totally nail you and ruin you. The offense keeps getting better the back half of the schedule, and you start to get more of the consistent Riley Leonard stuff that you wanted to see, the true RPO, throw the ball, run it, pull it, keep it, whatever. And you're just able to kind of win out that way. What that means at that point, I don't know. You know, you're going to make the playoff if you're 11-1. Listen, this team is limited. They're just limited. They're not. I got news for you. They're not winning the championship this year, folks. Like, so when you want to know, like, what the bar is or whatever, I don't know. Make the playoff to at least perceptually show you made the playoff. If you get what I'm saying, you don't know that? I do know that. What do you mean I don't know that? Come on, ND Irish. There's no one alive, no matter how much you love Notre Dame, that could look at Notre Dame and be like, yep, championship team, just get in the playoff and get hot. I just don't see it. I want to be wrong, and if I'm wrong, it'll be the best thing I've ever been wrong about in my entire life. But give me a break. Do you look around the country? Do we look? I love Notre Dame more than anybody, okay? I sit here in my basement and make all of this my career and what I think about every single day personally and for work. There's no separation. This is my life, okay? I love Notre Dame more than anybody. There's no way anyone's like, if we could just get in the playoff, we're going to be off to the rip. We're going to beat Texas this time. Like, I just don't. We can match up with Georgia now. Like, I just don't see it. But you got to be in it to win it. Like, you got to be in it to have any. Some of this is, how do I want to say this? Some of this is image protection for Notre Dame recruiting and Freeman and all this. You got to show that this is all moving forward. To maintain any momentum or good feelings at all, you got to feel like this is all moving forward. And you got to make the playoff for that feel to exist. Callers, I'm getting to you. 309, you're going to be the first one up. Do you follow me? You got to get you got to make that playoff just for the narrative and to show Freeman this is all moving forward in the right direction, whatever, and at least get in there and do all that. But man, this is just a lot of injuries and nobody feels bad for you. And if you drop another game, no one's going to want to hear you blame. Well, look at how banged up the roster is. No one wants to hear that. No one wants to hear that. So you got to grind out these wins and get to the playoff. I know Nick Dean asked, "Oh, John, I saw your playoff. Are you giving up on this team or whatever?" No, I'm not giving up on the team. They have one loss. As long as Notre Dame keeps winning, they're going to be in the playoff. But the team overall is nowhere near where I wanted or needed it to be in my mind. Like coming into the season of like, if everything goes right, what is the high end John thinks this team could look like and play like week to week? No, you're not even, I can't even see it from here, man. Even the kicker's hurt, Adam says. Look at it this way. I actually do have a response to that. Look at it this way, Adam. Here's a $5 hour from the Rotate. Your post-game show, it needs to feature Andrew. He seems to see the game differently and has great insight. It usually features Andrew. What do you mean? He calls every time. It usually features Andrew. It's a staple. I know the number when it calls. Good morning, Dr. John. Good to see you. It's good to see you. Look at it this way. Bob, only 3 healthy scholarship corners on the roster. And here's the thing. You're in a bad spot when you're like Christian Gray is the old man in the room and he's a second-year player. That's how you know you're in a rough spot when you're like, who's the old head that can get everybody lined up at the back end of that defense? Oh, I know. It's the year 2 player, the sophomore. And it's like, God bless Leonard Moore and Carson Hobbs. I hope neither of you guys get hurt. Like literally, I hope nobody gets hurt. What do you do then? Like you're in a rough spot. You're in a rough spot. No, Tex and D. Nowhere near the media preseason hype. Had everybody thinking we were an elite team. Reality is we were not even close. Like it's a give and a take thing with that. Man, it's just tough. What do you want the beat guys to do in August? Everybody's sitting there all summer excited to see the team. Then you see the guys run around. You're not going to be like negative on it or whatever. You want to be positive until you lose a game, right? Like it's fine. What if we beat Georgia Tech by like 35? Then we will be satisfied. I'll be satisfied tomorrow. That's for sure. But the reality is, listen, look at Blyberg. Good morning, gentlemen, and Johnny 3-star. I like how he evaluates my recruiting level ongoing, and it shifts. And it moves. We're getting better every week since the loss. Here's the plus side. That's kind of what I'm saying. I feel conflicted here. The offense is clearly getting better. Even that offensive line is starting to gel together a little bit. The reconfigured line after August had to be reconfigured again after Purdue and all these injuries. They're starting to play enough that they're starting to gel a little bit more, and you're starting to see a better effort from that offensive line. It's nowhere near where I need it to be or want it to be for offensive line. You can't even see good offensive line like the way I want. You can't even see it from where we're at. But the offense overall is getting better. It's getting incrementally better. The last 3 weeks, Leonard, 70% completions, 6 touchdowns, no interceptions. The offense is getting a little better each week. That gives me hope because it's not a situation where you're like, well, this is what it is and it's not going to change. You're actually seeing an improvement and Leonard get more comfortable in this offense or whatever. That needs to continue, and you need to find a way to be able to maintain on defense. And I just don't know. Again, I go back to the injuries. When is one too many? When is one too many? Joe M., I could guarantee that if we win by 35, you and other ND podcasts will get low viewership for the second straight week because there'll be nothing to complain about. Joe, you might be onto something because last week was the lowest numbers everybody in this niche has had all year. And it wasn't me. It wasn't just blue and gold. It was everybody. And I don't know if it's interesting you bring that up, man. I think it was the blowout And you had all those other good games right after our game ended. Do you know what I mean? You had like 4 or 5 really, really good night games everybody wanted to watch. And I feel like that was a rare week where there was all those good games. You had Oregon, Ohio State. You had Brian Kelly to root against, whatever. The game was delayed, and that threw off everybody's routine, whatever. But I literally, everybody in the niche had lower numbers, and I just think it was the game ended up not that close, and you had everything else going on in the world of college football. So Tex ND says NIU took a lot of wind out of the fan base sales. That is 309. I'm coming to you. 100%. I feel that is true, and it's, you're right. And there's just no way around it, I don't think. And you know what a good example of that is? Another good example of that is the way the Notre Dame fans interact on social media. When Notre Dame's in a good year or undefeated, or we really have like high-end hope, we're chirping. We go into these matchups, we're running our mouth to Louisville. We're getting after it during the week on Twitter. I'm fighting back and forth with their YouTubers, and they're coming at me, whatever. We're beefing back and forth and all this stuff. Notre Dame fans are confident. They're running their mouth, blah, 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 blah. I'm not seeing any of that this year. After week 2, I'm not seeing Notre Dame fans run their mouth, chirp at all. I just don't think we have the confidence that we're going to back it up every week. We keep winning, though. We keep winning, but I just don't feel like Notre Dame fans have that undergirded confidence of like, I'm confident my guys are going to show up and we're going to punk you today. I don't feel that. And I don't think this fan base feels it. And it's Northern Illinois. That's the prop. That's why this is. That's why this is. You guys, the whole season's vibe has been off since Northern Illinois. And I understand people are like, you need to get over it. It was week 2. We haven't lost since. We're on a winning streak. If Freeman beats Georgia Tech, it'll be either the tie his longest winning streak at Notre Dame or set the new level of the winning streak for himself at Notre Dame. Like, there's just a vibe ever since then of like, we can't trust you. Whereas to buy in, we're watching with one eye kind of covered, waiting for something bad to happen. That's the vibe. Jeff, I've been dispelling this and yelling about this for a while now. So when, sorry, Tom, didn't mean to jump you there. Do you think Alabama fans are sitting there butthurt because they lost to Vandy? Number one is yes. Have you tuned into any Alabama media? They want to run that guy out of town already. So yes, they are butthurt. Number 2, Jeff, you're smarter than this. I don't know your name. I don't see you here a lot. I like you being here, but Jeff, what does Alabama have Notre Dame doesn't have? What does we're playing a game here. What does Alabama have Notre Dame doesn't have? Credibility. In the modern era of college football, they have elite credibility. If any team could survive having a bad loss like this perceptually around the country and recruiting-wise and survive it and all that, it is definitely Alabama and not Notre Dame. It's a totally different thing. So yes, they're butthurt. They want to run the guy out of town. Have you listened to the Alabama media after that game? They were saying it's the most embarrassing loss ever. The standards dropped through the floor. What are we doing here? We get this new guy in here and the standard goes out the window. This is not Alabama football. So yes, they're butthurt. But number 2 is nationally, they have credibility Notre Dame doesn't have. They have credibility Notre Dame doesn't have. They have built up credit to burn here. Notre Dame doesn't have any of that, man. It's just all on the downside. Alabama has the upside to balance it out. Notre Dame doesn't have that. But yes, they're butthurt. What do you mean? Absolutely. Yes, go tune in. Go to YouTube and type in their post-game shows after that game and tell me what they're saying. Really, but you want to talk about butthurt? I mean, they were saying this is just not the standard here. John, you need to complain about emotional sports snakes for views. I'm telling you what. The last thing that ever gives me emotional support in my life would be a snake. Are you out of your mind? Sitting around waiting to attack everything. Can't trust a snake. Here we go, Kent. Y'all hold it down for me today. Grandma's funeral's at 12. Have a great show. Try to come back tomorrow. Beat Georgia Tech. God bless you, Kent. And, thoughts and prayers for your family. We are very sorry for your loss. I will say this, Kent. It does mean the world to me that even on a day like this, which is a heavy day for you and your family, that you were able to pop in here and join us even for a minute. So, and you know what we'll do, Kent? I don't know if it'll mean something to you or not, but we'll get a candle lit for you on the grotto at Notre Dame. I'll have one of the stadium guys run over there and get you a candle lit, and we'll keep you in our thoughts. But I appreciate you dropping in even on a tough day. 309, I'm coming right to you. $20 holler from Eric. Thank you. That's my lawyer. My lawyer in Michigan. It's always good to see him. 309. We're going to you, but let's do this. A couple people before I go there. A couple people mentioned. I don't know why. It's been a week since my birthday that I'm 40 or whatever. Now I'm an old man. I want to show this. Pistol Pete. You know Pistol Pete. Some of you guys have met Pistol Pete at the tailgates or whatever. He's the guy that I went to his place in Indiana and actually recorded his man cave and all this stuff. He delivered this for Johnny's birthday there. Hopefully you can see it in the reflection. But I love this picture. I'll have to get a good frame for it. And you know what I think is funny about it is I just think it's funny that it has these four legends here rising above the dome and all that. And I just think it's funny there's no Dan Devine to be found. I love it. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but I love the fact that there's no Dan Devine at all. And it's like, here's all these legends that won championship, but we just forgot about Dan Devine. It's just funny to me. And it is. Literally, I do look at all those guys a little differently than I do Devine. It's just funny to me. And if you talk to some of those guys, some of the rumors are like Dan Devine would tell them to do something, and then they'd get in the auto and be like, screw Devine, we're going to do what we want anyways. And then they did it, and then they won. And so Devine wouldn't yell at them because they would make it work. But like, I literally heard from some of those players, Dan Devine was a weird dude, a weird guy. And sometimes they would be like, yeah, dude, we'll do that. And then they get in the huddle and they do something else. But they were they had good teams then, and they just kept winning. Who was going to say anything? Who was going to say anything? Oh, man. John's an influencer model. He's got a ring light like the Instagram women. I got a couple of them, man. The lighting is weird when you're doing one of these. It could be too dark and creepy. It could be too light and you look fluorescent. It's really tricky to get the lights right. I got a couple different like lighting things in here. It's funny. Always Irish Senior. Good to see you. I think they're in the Hamptons. There's Always Irish Senior. They're for a wedding. Somebody in the family, they're getting married. I think it's in the Hamptons in New York. It's somewhere northeast and it's fancy. So Dad, thanks for checking in. I'm glad you guys made it. Safe travels. John, I know these stories from Devine's players. I'm telling you, the ones I've talked to, Devine's a weird cat, man. 309, you're on the line. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, John? Excited to talk some ball this week, but we're definitely in a stretch here where it's just not it's not as easy to be locked in with this stretch of next few games.
Man, it's really, really hard to explain. I'm telling you, man, everything feels weird. It just feels weird in Notre Dame land, man. Like we keep winning. Right. We keep winning since week 2, but there isn't the vibe I'm usually used to. Like something's just like off, but we keep winning. Maybe it's all the injuries keep weighing down people feeling like excited. Maybe it's the brand of football we play doesn't appeal to people. I don't know what it is. We keep winning, but the vibe feels weird. Like you're kind of waiting for the next bad thing to happen. This whole thing just feels off, man. Am I misreading the room?
No, there's no juice. There's
yes.
No juice, especially when you look at the schedule. It's like I think there would be some juice if Florida State was halfway decent and USC only had 1 or 2 losses, but when you look at the schedule, I was looking at it just this morning, and I'm like, the thing that kind of sucks is that every win is kind of going to be like, okay, that's what you're supposed to do, but a loss would be tragic. It's like, what the hell is this schedule?
Yeah. Man, you're so right. It's just, you're right about the juice, man. And I don't know if all the win came out of the sales because of Northern or what, but my thought was Notre Dame keeps winning. You're on a winning streak here. And I kind of thought that the vibes would increase if we just kept winning week to week, that there would be like this hope and buy back in after the pile down after Northern, like a buy back in week by week incrementally as we keep winning these games. Dude, I'm honestly not feeling it. Notre Dame fans aren't running their mouths on Twitter, like getting all confident and chirpy. Like, you don't have any, you don't have any of that. But we keep winning, and you're like in the playoff position, but it doesn't feel like it. It's all weird.
Well, what do we have to be confident about? I mean, the defense is incredible, but then you lose Benjamin Morrison, and then like you said in the beginning of the show, and people were getting mad at you about the ceiling. A national championship is not the ceiling for this team.
Yeah.
Like I think what would get me excited is hosting a home playoff game. Like, do you think that's still a possibility?
I do think, and there have been people that have played this out with the teams ahead of us and broke out who plays who and what that would do. Like, there are people who have done that. There is an angle for Notre Dame to squeeze into that 7-8, which would be the bottom seeds that are able to host. I do think if you ended up with one loss and you got certain things to break your way in the Big Ten and the SEC with who needs to beat who or whatever, I believe there is a chance Notre Dame could slide into one of those last seeds that are able to host a playoff game. But I think it depends on what else happens with the Big Ten and the SEC and who beats who or whatever. But so I do think that might be in play. But it's just so hard to think that far down the road when you're in a week-to-week fight for your life, you know?
Right. I mean, I think that, I don't know, personally, I have no interest in sliding in the back end of the playoff and then going to play at Ohio State or at Georgia first round.
Oh, buddy.
That would suck.
Man, can you see? That's the thing, man. Like it's very, very interesting because this is the first year in the new arrangement, and everybody's goals are, you're not exactly sure what the expectations. Just so everybody's like, make the playoff, make the playoff, make the playoff. You and I both know what's the reaction going to be if you sneak in the playoff as a 10 or 11 or something and go to Georgia to play or Ohio State. And you get beat, then is that a successful year or is that a failed year? Or like, then where does that leave us? However, if Notre Dame could somehow be like the lowest seed able to host a playoff game, Notre Dame could play really good defense in the cold December weather in Indiana and grind out a win there. I believe, regardless who it is, I think that is a different scenario than the other one of you're going on the road to Georgia. Good luck. Like, that is not, for as banged up as this team is. Oh, no.
Right.
Woo-hoo! Baby.
Right. And that's why I think that, to your point earlier you were talking about is like, every year you have to kind of redefine what success is for that team from the August perception to the October perception. You have to kind of redefine it along the way, because if preseason, we would know that, okay, Benjamin Morrison is going to be out for the year, Batello's going to be gone, Jagusa is going to be gone. All these guys, it's like, would we have the same expectation of winning a playoff game or this or that? No, we wouldn't.
Yeah, and and here's the thing, man. Oh, I've been struggling with this too. I've been struggling with this so much, man. Maybe you could help me. No one around the country cares about your excuses. No one wants to feel bad for you about your excuses. Every roster, every coach is dealing with somebody banged up that they want to contribute. No one feels bad for you. But they are piling up at key positions here. And it makes me wonder, like, those aren't excuses, but they're reasons, right? Like, if you dropped another game, the injuries are going to be a part of it, but you can't use them as an excuse. But what's the difference between a football reason and a football excuse that you don't reach your goals? I just worry what injuries, one too many, and it tips this the other way and you lose a game. And you know what else is on my mind, man? A part of me worries. We got so used to Morrison being out there. We don't even realize what it's like because he's eliminating half the field of the team's number one receiver every week, and we don't even think about it. I'm just worried it's going to be obvious he's not doing that anymore. That's what I don't want to see is like, oh, man, we took for granted that nobody even tested us back there, and now look at us. I hope that doesn't happen.
Right. Well, and that's what good corners too do. It's not just the plays you make, but the plays that you don't make because they don't throw to you.
Dude, I just wrote about that. I don't even know if the article posted yet. I literally just wrote about that, saying you almost can't even measure Morrison's impact because half of it is what doesn't happen just because he's out there. How do you measure that? That's a play. Those are plays that are not logged. But he's impacting because nobody wants to test him or his side of the field or throw over there. It's a big hit, man. And now I will say this. For as rough as week 2 was and as unacceptable as that was, if Freeman somehow is able to grind this out and win the rest of these games, even against a schedule that's interesting because of who's rising and who's falling in the rankings here with Army and Navy on the rise and the 2 brand names going down. Really, really bizarre. Nobody had that. Even if that happened and Notre Dame ran the table, what a great job by Marcus Freeman. I mean, if you ran the table with all these injuries from week 2, that is one heck of a good coaching job after a really bad coaching job. Right?
Yeah. And there might not be, I don't know, this is something I'm just thinking of. There might not be much juice among the fan base, but I guarantee Marcus Freeman has some juice because he's in a contract year.
Yeah, listen, man, it is. Here's what Notre Dame could go 11-1. It just couldn't be this one. And that is really what threw a wrench in this whole thing is Notre Dame could afford 1, but this couldn't be the one. And so now you're out of pocket and you have no more leeway and you're just fighting for your life here week by week. Now, let me ask you this. Do you know if that quarterback's going to play? We've been on the air 27 minutes, and I've had people type in that Haynes King not playing, and other people are typing in, I think he's playing. What is he playing or not playing?
I mean, I always just follow the sports book, and when you see that line jump like that, that tells me everything I need to know that even if he does play, he's going to be severely limited, but I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't play with being his throwing shoulder.
Yeah, and that's tough. I think Riley Leonard had something similar, but it was on the non-throwing shoulder. That's a totally different ball game.
Right.
Even if he's limited and he's playing, then it's tough. Right for them. Conundrum saying 949. You're coming up next. Conundrum saying John lowers the crossbar. Go back and listen to yourself in August. Well, now listen. This is where I'm in a really weird spot. In August, everything was available to us. All of our dreams were ahead of us. And I was going off of like the high end of what this team could be. If they're that, you could have a great year. Now you have the injuries. You lost to Northern. I'm seeing that the offense isn't as what I want it to be or whatever. And now I feel like the bar isn't as high. Like, what do you want me to say? It was higher then, and now I realize the team's banged up and not as good, so now I'm being realistic that it's not as high. What do you want me to do? Lie? Now I have evidence. This is how this works. You get evidence, and then you critically think about where you're at now. And the team isn't nearly what I wanted it to be and hoped it'd be when it was August. That's as fair as I could be. What do you want me to say? Am I like, what do you want me to say? Yeah, I'm redoing what I think because things have happened. There's new evidence. Anyways, whatever. Son of a buck. Anyways, my bad. Sorry I interrupted.
Don't let the trolls get you.
Well, it is true when it was August that I had higher end things I was looking for, saying in my brain, if everything comes together and you have reasonable health and Riley Leonard and this offense click and whatever, I think you could host a playoff game and make a run. I'm not so sure on that now. Why? Because of evidence. A couple months of football has happened. So give me a break. I'm analyzing where we're at now. I'm not blindly thinking the same thing, even though I have evidence that says otherwise. That would be the hypocritical thing. Not what I'm doing.
So what's best case scenario this weekend, John?
Here's what I want. Best case scenario, let's be real. The best case scenario probably is that quarterback doesn't play and Notre Dame wins by like 17 or 21 or something. And then you get a break with the other games where a couple teams ahead of us falter and then you end up well within the top 10. That would be an ideal weekend for Notre Dame, right? Like that's right. But that's the easy way out. I admit that's the easy way out is the quarterback's banged up and he's out. And it makes it a lot easier for Notre Dame to win this game. And then you catch a little break and a couple teams lose ahead of you and you move up. That would be ideal. But Notre Dame could beat this team even if Haynes King plays. And I'm not going to pick against Notre Dame in this spot, but I do think it is a tricky moment. I'm going to ask you this, my friend. I'm not scared of this dome at all. It almost feels like a Shamrock Series game to me that Notre Dame should be very comfortable going into this environment and playing. I am not feeling overwhelmed or intimidated by the dome at all. First time leaving the state of Indiana since August. I think the guys are going to be ready to go in their whites, have a new environment, and go kick some butt. That's what I'm preparing for.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I think that like you said, this isn't some sort of travel after traveling all across the country. We haven't gone to New York twice yet. This is all before that. Like, there's no excuse. There's no excuse to not go into this weekend and win by, 15, 20 points, in my opinion. I know the spread's only like 9.5 somewhere, 11.5 somewhere. I mean, personally, I don't think there's any excuse to not win by 15 to 20. I mean, have you seen their pass rush is negligible. There's no pass rush. None.
Yeah. It's, and I want another big question I have is, and man, I'm looking for this. Is Notre Dame's little increased effective run with the pass game, is that mostly because Stanford was so bad at football? Like, can you maintain this? Can you maintain that? Like, can you build off that? Are you going to be able to? I liked the balance last week, even against a bad team. You had about almost Riley Leonard had 229 throwing, and we ran it for 229. I was really, I that balance appeals to me, and I want to know if they can maintain some of that, or if it was just kind of a one-off because Stanford was so bad. But also, there's confidence, man. How do you measure confidence? I would think Riley Leonard and that offense and the line and those receivers got to feel a little better about themselves after having the best day they've had all year. Can you parlay that into Atlanta? Let's go.
Right. And, before I go, I don't want to pivot negative, but I've been meaning to ask you this for a while. What's your take on the Sneed situation? I just don't know what to think of all that.
I just think that they don't trust him to always be where he needs to be. And the athleticism is off the charts, but I just don't think there's a trust in him that he's going to be where he needs to be and do what he needs to do on the most basic stuff. But he'll shoot out of a cannon and make a huge play or whatever out of nowhere and blast somebody. But I just don't feel like they trust him to be able to read what he needs to read and be where he needs to be. And if they can't trust him like that, they're going to limit his snaps. And that's just a problem, man. And they were hoping this would be the year that he turned the corner with it. And it just hasn't really happened. But you hate to not have a guy with those athletic gifts out there all the time. So I think that puts everybody in a very awkward position.
I guess what sucks is, and I remember talking to you about this last year before the season, is what sucks is you don't get a lot of 5-star talents like Sneed. And when you do, you really need them to pan out. You want them to pan out.
Yeah, it's really, really frustrating. And I'm sure he's probably frustrated too. It's unfortunate because you see the raw athleticism, you see that talent and the physical gifts that the man has. It's just, if the staff can't trust you to read your keys and be where you need to be, you're going to be limited to certain situations where there's less reading and just more reacting. Like, you get me? Like certain positions where you go, okay, son, let it rip and just fly right downhill and go make a play. But anything with more processing and all that, you just can't rely on it. And then you're going to be limited, especially when they feel like they have other guys back that they can trust a little more, even if they have less raw athleticism. So it's a very frustrating thing.
Yeah.
It just is, man.
It's just the play he had against Texas A&M, I think it was down by the goal line, just sticks in my head. And I'm like, that is exactly what, you hoped Sneed would be on a consistent basis.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, man, it's just kind of, it's very, very frustrating. So what do you predict for this game, man? Like, I'm not going to wrap up this phone call without asking you that. 949, you're coming up next. I want to know what you think. I feel, this is going to be, this might burn me. You guys might clip this and use it against me. I'm expecting Notre Dame's offense to have another good day. I really am. I think they're going to be able to move the ball a little bit, and I think they're feeling themselves a little bit. And I think this offense is starting to find a little something, and I expect them to play good football. And the defense is losing some key pieces, but I think there may be some frustrating moments, but they will play a winnable football game, which is what they do every week. And I honestly think that offense is feeling themselves, and I expect a pretty good day on offense. And I know that is like risky to say given the struggles of most of the year, but I feel pretty good about that. I think Notre Dame's offense is going to hold their own.
Yeah. I'm going 34-7 Irish with a missed extra point to make it 34.
There you go. Oh, you know what? I'm glad you brought this up. You just put this in my head. A couple people chatted about it. We got a kicker situation, right? Like, and Adam Dowling's been texting me this too. Like, how bad is your injury luck when the kicker goes down? Like, we got problems, man. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Follow me here. A part of me almost doesn't mind knowing going in that your kicker is hurt and you're going to be limited there and you have a problem. Because to me, what that means to me, Freeman and that offensive staff should be going into the game planning on being more aggressive and having 4 downs on offense to play with. Do you get what I'm saying? I feel like it almost frees you up to be like, when we get to a certain point in the field, it's 4 down territory. We're not going to be able to kick a long field goal, whatever. And you need to prepare those 3rd and 4th down plays to be 2 different plays and break them up if you need to. I honestly don't mind that. Like, it's not ideal. I wish you had a healthy kicker, but I'm saying now you're going to have to be more aggressive and use 4 downs. And so I could live with that. Be more aggressive and use all 4 on offense. Push it. Yeah.
It makes the decision a lot easier. And like you said, you can have 5 to 10 of those 4th down plays ready.
That's what I'm telling you is I almost don't mind that. And the staff can plan for it and game plan for that to be aggressive and go for it. And I like that kind of aggressiveness. So not an ideal spot to be in, but I do think it gives them the opportunity to prepare to be more aggressive and go for 7s instead of settling for 3s. So it's going to be really, really interesting. But Notre Dame is in a 6-game playoff elimination grinder. I don't even think you need to win and look impressive. You just got to keep winning somehow, some way, overcome those injuries, keep winning football games. That's all you need to do.
Yep. Yeah. And, if you want to host that playoff game, blow some people out.
Yeah, blow some people out. And again, this schedule is the weirdest. It is shaping up to be one of the weirdest situations. No media, no fan, nobody had picked this, where your brand names, Florida State and USC, would be dragging butt and kind of weighing down the schedule and struggling. And Army and Navy would be on the rise. The best seasons they've had since World War II. Bring it all back. Like, you couldn't make this up, man.
Right. Yeah. Well, let's. I want to see some positive momentum this weekend, and hopefully we keep charging towards the playoffs. And I want to see them host a game. That's all I really care about now. The rest of this year is let's host a playoff game.
The difference between sliding in as like the 10 or the 11 versus having that last hosting seed is so monumental. I almost can't even measure the difference in what that would mean for this Notre Dame team. to be able to host and not go. It's unbelievable. So if you could get back into that position after what you did week 2, it'd be an unbelievable rebound. Unbelievable.
Oh, for sure. And yeah, like I said earlier, this is a contract year for Marcus. He's locked in.
Man, I'm telling you, I don't know how the other Bavacqua didn't hire Freeman. It is the most interesting dynamic to me, right? Jack hired Freeman on the way out. Bavacqua was not as intimately connected to him in the same way. And I always think about how that may change how he looks at things or how he feels about everything, because that isn't his guy necessarily. And it frees him up. And I wonder what Pete thinks of everything. It's really interesting.
Yeah. Fun times. Well, hey, thanks for taking the call, John.
No problem, man. Hey, thanks for touching base. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. I actually feel pretty good about it. I think Notre Dame's going to be prepared for the moment. And I expect to see that offense have a good day again. So hopefully it goes that way, man. Hey, thanks for the call. Give me a call after the game if you want.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate it. What a good conversation. 949, you're coming up. Feel free to anybody else, feel free to give me a call. Pete wouldn't go near Freeman this early as AD unless it's clear Freeman is not the guy. It's not clear. Yeah, that he's on an extended contract of what, 6 years or whatever, and this is the 3rd year. Pete doesn't have to do anything right now. But I know even last year they were talking about an extension, and Freeman's agent in Notre Dame were flirting about that, and then the bad losses happened later, and then it kind of cooled off on that or whatever. I don't know. It's really interesting. Really interesting. You think it's 5 years? 5 or 6? I thought it was 6. It's so, look at this. I woke up to the news yesterday that Reinsdorf was looking to sell the White Sox, and I briefly felt like a fan again. Then I learned instead of opening the bidding, he's only talking to a group whose sole purpose is to relocate the team to Nashville. This guy's truly one of the worst owners in sports. Even when he's doing something the fans want, he's going to stick it to us on the way out. People asked me, John, what would you do? 949 coming up for the 5th time. People have asked me, John, what would you do if Reinsdorf sells the White Sox and then they move to Nashville or whatever? What would you do with your fandom? I'm done with baseball. I got my 05 World Series when I was 20, and I'm done with baseball. That'd be it. I'm done. I'm done with baseball. And it would hurt me. And that was my true first love growing up in sports was baseball. I love baseball. It'd just be dead to me. What am I going to do? I'm not going to become a Cubs fan. Like, that's insulting. That would never happen in a million years. I'm not going to become a Cubs fan. And I'm definitely not going to be a Sox fan and they're in Nashville. That's just, it's not going to happen. Like, I want to be able to put my daughter in the car and then drive a little bit and then be at the Sox game and show her what White Sox baseball is in our culture with our fans and on the South Side and do all that. You're not the Chicago White Sox if you're in Nashville. Like, no, it doesn't translate. So I'd be done with baseball and it would really, really hurt me. And, I would like to think of a day where I bring my daughter to the White Sox games and she can enjoy baseball and learn what that all is. And me and her can bond over that together. Like, I want to do that with baseball. It's a lower pace sport than football, less intense. I want to have that relationship with her in baseball and the White Sox. If they go to Nashville, it's just over. I'm done caring about baseball. So whatever. After the A&M game, the Freeman extension talk was crazy. Texas Mac, not as crazy as when Charlie Weiss got a 10-year extension or whatever after losing the Bush Push game. I'm not misremembering that, am I? I'm pretty sure he got that extension after losing the Bush Push game, not winning it, losing it. Unbelievable. Punch myself in the face. Punch myself in the face. Football Scoop, John Bryce does a good job over there, by the way, Tom. I'm sure you know who I'm speaking of. Always gets some behind-the-scenes information. He's got a good network of contacts. I must trust him, John Bryce. a 6-year contract, $42 million as of December 1st, 21. I did think it was 6 years. Yeah. So anyways, callers, coming back to you. We're all waiting for the proverbial other shoe to drop. That's the fear. But man, we keep worrying and they keep winning. We keep worrying and they keep winning. Look at this. C. Jones. Morning, John. Does road game translate to a quick start? I'm telling you what. I like my odds of a fast start in this dome away from home than I do at our stadium. Like, it's a coin flip. You got just as good of a shot of a fast start in this dome than you do at home. The way we play it, start games at home. Why not? Why not? So I don't know. Look at that. I got back-to-back messages, and one of them says, it looks like Georgia's Tech starting quarterback will miss the game. And the other one, it says, I think Haynes King is playing. Book it. Like, which is it? Oh, callers, I'm coming to you. Jake Cutler got arrested for DUI at Tennessee. Go Bears. Listen, I got to tell you this, and then I'll go back to the callers. If you're on hold, you'll be on the air. I got to say this. As someone who has personally lost multiple people I love to drinking and driving, this offends me. As someone who worked in the burial death industry for a dozen years and met with families who saw the effects of drinking and driving every single week as my job, I would meet people who had a drinking and driving death. That was a part of my job. Every 4th of July, every holiday, I would dread the next couple days after that long weekend because you knew you were going to get some people every 4th of July that drank and drove and didn't make it home. Like, you could just book it. Memorial Day, same thing. Like, you just knew. January 1st, whatever. All these marking points, people do dumb things. I have no patience for people that drink and drive. If you only hurt yourself doing it, I don't care, because I wish there were those kind of consequences for your actions. If you are only going to hurt yourself, I don't care. That is like proper consequence, but you hurt other people and you hurt innocent people just trying to get home or go to their job, and you're drinking and driving like some idiot. What I really have no patience for is people that have money doing this stuff. These people have money. I don't understand all these athletes, all these celebrities, all these musicians, the Georgia football team, all these people that have resources. You don't need to drink and drive. You don't need to drink and drive. Jay Cutler is a multi-millionaire. You don't have an entourage of one guy that could drive you around and you pay him a couple $100. Where is he? Jay Cutler lives outside of Nashville or something. There's Ubers everywhere. You can't have somebody pick you up. And you know what I think it is, you guys? I mean this. I think these people think they're bigger than the situations they're in. I think they think I'm famous, I have money, I have a name or whatever. I'm above like what could happen if you make these decisions. Like, it almost feels to me that all these people think they're above what this is. And it really rubs me the wrong way, especially when it's people that have the resources to have other situations. It's not just alcohol, Tiger with the pain meds, all that stuff, man. Like, anybody that could have an entourage or whatever to have somebody get them around, or just an Uber. And I know they're all rich. It's so avoidable. It's so avoidable. Notre Dame wine and cheese. I didn't know that, John. I work at a cemetery and meet with people. Sometimes it's tough. Wine and cheese. I did that for a dozen years. I was the guy you met with for your burial arrangements for those Catholic cemeteries in the Chicago suburbs in the Joliet diocese. And my job was to meet with families on the worst day of their life. You want to know why I'm messed up, you guys? Imagine that for 12 years. That was my job, meeting everybody on the worst day of their life. Telling a mom, I know you don't want to do it. We need to go pick a grave for your son that drank and drove off a bridge on 4th of July. And you got to say to her, We got to go pick out a grave. I'm not legally allowed to do it for you. You need to go pick a grave, put your kid in. That's what we need to do today. Here's the map. I'll walk with you and show you what we got. Literally, that was my life. I have no patience for these people, man. Bob says, I have a feeling you were messed up before then. Bob, that is the realest thing you've ever said. That is the realest thing you've ever said, Bob. Anyways, I have no patience for this kind of thing. If you only hurt yourself, I'm all for it. But too many innocent people get injured in this, and it's really, really rough. Andrew says, does it pay well? Honest question. Very, very interesting, Andrew. It's super interesting. My job was 50% sales, 50% counseling. I did all these, like Andrew, I would do like senior fairs and go and give a presentation about why it's a good idea to prearrange your funeral and your burial expenses. And I'd sell Granny and Grandpa at a senior home, a $12,000 package, and then Johnny gets his commission, right? Like most, half of what I did was prearrangements, meaning I go around town or I do a speech or do open houses and answer Q&A, sign people up to prearrange their stuff. And then I get, got a commission off that. Monuments, headstones, like, I sell a $10,000 headstone or whatever, and I get commission off. I sell a lot of headstone, a lot of monuments that I would design for people, and you get a nice fat, commission off that. And then it is counseling too. So it's a sales job because you get paid a bigger percentage of commission off prearranging and getting people to sign up for that than you do in the moment. That's just how the business works, pre-need versus at need. And so you do a lot of that, and then it's a lot of counseling. You got people in there miserable, and you got to work them through it and set up the burial thing. And what do you want the service to look like? And how do you do this and this and that? And so I don't know. It was a really, really interesting. Interesting way of life. Brendan McGrath Music. It's good to see you, buddy. I miss you. How are you doing out in LA? I've done the music and the music consultations for funerals several times. It's incredibly difficult. Yeah, man. And here's the other problem with the funerals. Callers, I'm coming to you. You cannot make a mistake at all. That is the number one thing I learned about that business. You only get one chance to bury somebody's mom with everybody there in a bad mood. Everything's got to be perfect. And if one little thing goes wrong, your boy Johnny hears about it. So that was the number one thing. There can be no mistakes. You have got to be perfect in that business. You cannot make a mistake. Like weddings, funerals, it's like a one-time thing you can't blow. You can't make any mistakes. And so really interesting past life for Johnny, 12 years doing it. Give back to the diocese there. I liked wheeling and dealing. I liked my open houses, Q&A, why it's a good idea to prearrange, get this monument, answering Granny's questions. What if I die? We retire in Florida. What if I die there? How do I get my body back here to be buried? And then I go over that, all this different stuff. It was really, really interesting. But literally, Andrew, 50% sales, 50% counseling. You have a base pay, and then you have commission on top of that. Really interesting way to make a living. That's what I did a bunch of years. Thanks for asking, though. It's actually very interesting. Wedding you could do over. The other, not so much. Yeah, with somebody else. That's a good point. With somebody else. But Andrew, you know my patience level. Andrew, imagine like you bury somebody in a traditional ground grave. Okay, so, you dig it out in December, and we bury grandma in December, whatever. It's winter. It's cold in Illinois. The ground is hard to work with. It's hard to dig through. You got to melt the grave a few days before to even get in with the backhoe to dig the grave. It's a nightmare. It's December. You bury her. Sure enough, the first warm day of March or whatever, we warm out in the spring. The whole family's in my office threatening to sue me because there isn't country club grass on Granny's grave. You buried her in December. What do you mean there's no grass on the grave? And imagine me having the patience to try and tell somebody it's the beginning of March. The grass doesn't grow yet. There isn't going to be grass. Quit telling me I'm bad at my job because there isn't country club grass when there was snow on the ground yesterday. That was where I started to lose my patience. with complaints that are not my fault and I can't do anything about. Can we change the subject? Yeah, we'll change the subject. What a good show. We could talk about death as long as you want to. Ask any death questions you want, and I got the answer. 949, you're on the line. What's going on?
I pray for the death of Brian Kelly's career this weekend. And, best wishes to his family. I would pay dearly to see you in a funeral home rant with a family. That would be epic. Because your rants anyway after games are the best.
Yeah,
but,
listen, it wasn't always the easiest for me to sit and listen and understand and try and be patient and not. It's an interesting way to make a living. Let's put it that way. Okay, people don't want to hear about death anymore. We can get back to the football.
All right, I got two things to talk about. One, I've done a little research on. I'll call it crack research on depth charts and the backup quarterback at Georgia Tech. But first, I want to save your relationship, your baseball relationship with your daughter. You don't have to give up baseball because there's Notre Dame baseball, and they're cooking this year. And I went to the World Series a couple of years ago. If they make it, you got to take her to Omaha. It'll be phenomenal.
You know what? That's good. That's actually pretty good. That's actually a pretty good angle and a pretty good idea. I think I need to get over my little childhood thing with Frank Thomas and the White Sox on the South Side, and I just need to grow up and get over that, I guess.
Yep, and you got Notre Dame baseball. You'll be on campus with her, be able to walk her around. You're gonna be fine, and I'm looking forward to hearing the story of how that develops.
I appreciate that. Thank you. That's actually makes me feel better about it.
Absolutely. Now let's go to my research on the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets or the Rambling Wreck. First of all,
dude, I like the Rambling Wreck better. Can we go with that? I like the Rambling Wreck way better. It just rolls off the tongue and it sounds kind of cool. I like the Georgia Tech Rambling Wreck. It just sounds better. The Yellow Jackets sound like
merchandising.
Merchandising
and logo.
Yeah. It sounds like a little annoying bug when you're like, oh, the Yellow Jackets. Like they're the little annoyance buzzing around your guard. No, give me the Rambling Wreck. It sounds way cooler. I'm with you.
Yep. So I'm going to set out a disclaimer first with regard to my research. The value is about equal to half a cup of warm leftover coffee or left behind coffee at Denny's on Senior Day. So take it for what it is. Now, looking at their depth chart, and this is from Sports Illustrated, you've got a better take on how accurate that's going to be. And this is from somebody by the name of Jackson Caudell, and it was 2 days ago that they released their depth chart for the Notre Dame game. And I'll say this. On defense, they've got problems. They don't know who's starting at end, a defensive end, or rush end. They don't know who's starting at tackle. They don't know who's starting at Sam or Mike, I should say, at free safety. And then on the backups, they've got a couple of holes as well. On nose, they don't know who their backup is. Rush end, they still don't know who their backup is, even after they don't know who their starter is. So that, when you were talking about how the offense is going to do well, I think that pretty much confirms it. Now, coming to offense.
Am I a fool for that? Can I ask you, am I a fool? I genuinely feel it and think it. And I feel like that offense is starting to turn a little bit of a corner. And even that new offensive line starting to get a little better week to week working together. And I feel like Riley Leonard's starting to look a lot more comfortable out there, and the numbers back it up. I don't want to be like an idiot, but I really do feel like that offense is getting better.
Absolutely. They are gelling. And you've touched on this in other shows, prior shows, where you said, it was unfortunate that Riley missed the spring, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully that's it. He's starting to hit his stride. And so, peaking at the right time is going to be huge for us. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, it's man, it's just, and it's been interesting to watch the spread. Do you pay attention to that? I don't gamble on the college football. It's too close to me emotionally to do that. But it started low and then it shot up to like 11 for Notre Dame. Now I saw back down to like 9.5 a lot of places. So that's kind of where the people are with the money coming and going. I think a lot of it has to do with if that quarterback plays or not.
Yeah, and then, which leads me to that. His name's Zach Pyron. He's a sophomore, 6'3", 220 from Pinson, Alabama. The fact that he's from Alabama and he's not playing in the SEC tells me he's probably not that great.
Yeah.
This year, he's five completions out of 7 attempts, 71.4 completion. He's pretty high rating. He's got 1 touchdown. He's got a rating of 195.5. He's got a TD on the ground. Overall, not that great. He did throw 82 times 2 years ago, only threw 8 times last year, so that means he's not playing much. 49 completions in 22. Pretty good rating overall. But then that brings us back to the depth chart. The depth chart shows that Haynes King is going to be starting.
Yeah,
So,
well, they could always do that. You could always do that and do the or. Like, that's the other game a lot of teams play with the depth chart. Or whatever, and leave it open. I don't know. And here's the other thing, man. I'm not trying to be disrespectful or dirty, but I mean this. If he does play, I am advocating for legal, hard, fair hits on that side of the young man's body, because that's the sport we play. Legal, totally within bounds. I'm asking for some solid hits on that side.
I did that in high school. So in English class, my friend Cindy was dating the star linebacker. He was all state from the next town over, and not too far from Notre Dame. It was in Cass County, Michigan. So she told me that Timmy's ribs were hurting, but he was going to play.
Yeah.
Well, I was the guard that went against him. I drove him off the field and onto the cinder track a couple of times. He was so pissed off at me. He didn't know what I knew, but I knew it. He was so pissed off that I kept going at his ribs that on one play, he had me on the ground, and he was punching me on the ground. He got kicked out. We went on. We blew him out anyway. It was like 66.
Oh man, but, I'm telling you, you gotta thank Cindy for the lead on that one, man. I hope you married her, took her to prom or something. You may as well steal the guy's girl while you're at it.
Nah, she wasn't my type, but she was a good friend, and I'll see her at the 50th.
That's awesome.
Coming up.
That's awesome. What a good little story. So what do you got here, man? I think Notre Dame's going to get it done tomorrow. What do you think? Any final thoughts here? What do you think?
I would love to see another rocking chair game like Louisville or Purdue.
That is good for the hairline and the blood pressure. I'll tell you that right now. Johnny enjoys those type of. I need more of those where my hair can grow back in, and I don't feel like I'm on a stroke watch.
Yep, just sit back in a rocking chair and just kind of go back and forth and smile. But I will say this: to get in shape, especially as I've gotten older, I've started to do push-ups, sit-ups, and squats after every score. So the Louisville game was tough.
Man, that's tough.
Was tough.
Man, a lot of people, drink 2 beers every time we score something. You're over here doing a workout. Unbelievable. I'm impressed. Look at you. You're making everybody else feel like crap. Look at you, you show off.
That's their own choice.
Oh, man. That's a good one. Hey, anything else on the way out? Really good call, man. Thanks for touching base on a Friday, and thanks for looking into some of that information.
Yeah, I think coming forward this weekend, we could see, if everything falls into place, we could see Army and Navy both in the top maybe 15 or 16. Miami, Louisville can take care of Miami from what I've seen. Miami should have 2 losses, legit. Louisville's not a bad team. They could take them out. I'll say this, though. Miami's quarterback, Cam Ward, is the real deal. I hope the kid from Boise State wins the Heisman, but I won't be surprised if Cam Ward wins it. He's pretty sharp. But living in Broward County, I hate Miami anyway from being a Notre Dame fan and having to go to a lot of games here. But I've seen one prediction that if Miami does make it, which I hope they don't, that Notre Dame could also play at, I think that was CBS Sports that put that out. Notre Dame could play at Miami in the first round, which wouldn't be bad for me. I could walk there. Of course, I'd have to start walking today, but I could walk to the ballpark.
Yeah, and Miami's been begging for a loss for a few weeks now, and they keep escaping, and it's really pissing me off. So I'm waiting for somebody to finally get them. And so I don't know, man, but we'll see what happens. And feel free to.
Don't,
yep.
Yeah. If they don't, I would be more than delighted for Notre Dame to hand them their first loss in their dump.
Yeah, it is a dump too, and it wasn't even a safe one for a Notre Dame person to be in physically in 17. I'll never forget what a nightmare that was. Hey, buddy, thanks for the call. Enjoy the game and enjoy your weekend.
Go Irish.
Go Irish indeed. Tex ND says everybody knew Deuce wasn't coming here. Man, think about what you're saying, though. Think about what you're saying. Everybody knew Deuce wasn't coming here. So you're think about the world we're living in here if what Tex ND is saying is true. Notre Dame's recruiting and the most important individual position in all of sports is the quarterback. It is the number one position and player that can move the outcome of your games and your season and your team more than any other individual player. Is the quarterback. And it's so important in the building block of kind of the centerpiece of most people's recruiting class. And you land this Deuce Knight guy to Notre Dame, and he's in the fold. And for a while there, he was talking about Notre Dame, this and that, blah, 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 blah. You're telling me that whole time we were all supposed to figure he was going to leave? What are we doing? Like, I'm asking, what are we doing with our lives if we're in a reality where you have a guy committed to Notre Dame saying to the coaches that I'm coming to Notre Dame and he's on our list and he's committed and he's doing all, and you can't believe it. Like, what are we doing, man? That's a really sad place to be. It's a sad place to be, man. It just is. 574, what's going on?
Hello?
Hello, you're on the air. Welcome to the show.
Hey, awesome. Yeah. So I've always been a Notre Dame fan since I've been a kid, and I will be a Notre Dame fan till I'm dead.
Well, I see that 574. So I feel like you're in the area. Is it in your DNA, or did you move to the 574? I know that number. I know that number when I see it.
Yeah, I'm actually from Indiana. I'm like 40 minutes south of South Bend. So
there you go.
I've been to a couple games, and it's an awesome time. I'd love to go again, but I can't go right now. But yeah, I think Notre Dame should be able to beat the next four teams. And so I don't know, what do you think about Notre Dame versus like Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State. They keep losing. Why do you think that's the problem? Why do you think they keep losing those games? Is it their performance? Is it just the recruiting? Or
I think that number one is I don't think Notre Dame has as many top line athletes as those teams have. Like Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama specifically. Notre Dame does not have the amount of top line athletes in depth with them as those recruiting operations do. And the recruiting shows that they load up on 4 and 5 stars way more than we do. So I just don't think Notre Dame has as many frontline guys as they do. I think quarterback play has been a big reason Notre Dame has not been able to compete in more of those moments. You haven't had a quarterback that could take the team, put it on the back, and put them on their back and make plays and make drives when you need it. I think that's a part of it too. And the other thing is, man, Notre Dame's been in position to change that narrative, and they just haven't gotten the 1 or 2 more plays you need to get over the top. Didn't do it against Ohio State, whatever. Georgia, you had a couple 1-score games with Georgia, and you couldn't make one more play. So I think it's a combination of that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. What do you think it's going to take for them to get those types of recruitment to that university?
That's interesting. That's like an 8-hour show about Notre Dame recruiting, and if they'll allow some more dogs to get in, that maybe don't have straight A's but are going to work hard to be good players. You need more dogs at Notre Dame, not little Joliet Catholic kids that look like Johnny. I need more dogs on that roster. That would help.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I got you. Well, yeah. Well, hey, I appreciate your time. Go Irish. I hope they should have never lost to Northern Illinois. There's no reason why. And every time,
dude, I just love it. I just love how, like, matter of fact, you're like, you know what? I'm thinking on a Friday, Notre Dame had no business losing to Northern. I needed that. You're right. You're right about that, caller.
Yeah, and any of the other teams that they lost, they're like, why? And every year I always seem disappointed, but the truth of it is I'm always going to be a Notre Dame fan. And I will go to my grave a Notre Dame fan.
Yeah.
And all my family is Notre Dame fans. So it's in my family. It's in my history. So
that's the way it is, man. Yep. It's not for whether it's good or bad. It's just a part of us, and we're gonna. Man, we're living and dying it, man. And so, hey, thanks for the call. Looks like you're a first-time caller. Feel free to give me a call again, buddy, anytime.
Yeah, hey, appreciate your time, man. Go Irish.
Hey, thanks a lot. Go Irish. I always like getting new people in the mix on the call-in lines. 480, what do you know? What's going on, man? It's been a while.
Hey, what's going on, John? How you doing, man?
Hey, I'm doing very well. I'm looking forward to the ball game tomorrow. I think Notre Dame can go to Atlanta and perform well and pick up a win, I hope. I would love to know what you think. It's been a while since we've talked. What's on your mind?
Yeah, the last time we talked, I went off, and I saw the clip you made.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you absolutely went off, and it was justified, and it was honest, and it was raw, and it was real, and that's what this is all about, man. And I highlighted it because you deserved it.
Well, I appreciate it, man. And I've been watching the games and everything. I've kind of, like you said, you kind of hinted a little earlier, like some people are kind of watching with one eye open, kind of like, wait, but it's like, I don't know, man. It's this feeling I have, like, I'm glad to see that the offense is improving. We're winning games and things like that, but it's just like, and I feel like most of the fans feel this. Like, there's just this feeling, man, like, we're just like, is there going to be another letdown, in these next 6 games? Trust me, man, like, there's no reason that we shouldn't win the next 6 games in this schedule at all. Even with the injuries that we have.
That's what I was going to ask. If it was straight up, I'd be like, man, you're looking at a schedule very, very gettable. That is my underlying question, man, is there an amount of injuries into certain guys that tip the balance to where you're just likely to drop one more dumb game you would normally probably win? It's a big question I have behind the scenes. It's always on my mind now.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's my only thing is just kind of like this. Man, I don't want us to drop another game. Like, number one, like somebody said, and it was a good point. It's like we should win every game. Like the schedule's not daunting, unfortunately. Like the games that we thought would be high popcorn, get your popcorn ready type games towards the end of the season now are dubs.
Dude,
And
how do you
how
do you process that? Is that not a little dangerous? I think it's a dangerous trap that you end up with the two military academies trending straight up, and then you got the brand names, Florida State and USC, kind of dragging ass. But you know they have some athletes. It's really interesting seeing how the back half of this schedule is shaped up. And on the front end of the schedule, we're all rooting for Texas A&M. The further they go, the better for us. It's a weird dynamic.
Yeah, man, Texas A&M is striking hot, man.
Yep.
And Mike Elko he's got that defense humming, man.
Glad you got him week one, aren't you? Look, they got an offense that's kind of starting to come together now. I'm kind of glad we got him early.
Yeah, because next year when we play them in the first game, that's going to be a game.
Oh, it's going to be a totally different dynamic there. When you give Elko a year to get situated with SEC talent, that's a different dynamic. My hair's starting to get, I can feel my hair getting loose in my head already.
I'm just saying, man, that's going to be a game. Mike Elko, Freeman got him twice off of these, like, last-minute heroic runs from the running backs. He's coming. He's going to be ready for blood next year for us. He's going to want that game.
Yeah.
So, Freeman better, whatever it is, like, get it ready next year because he's coming for that game. But going back to this season, yeah, man, I want us to win the rest of these games. And I'm really glad to see that Riley Leonard is starting to get comfortable with the offense. I can see that Ben Brock is starting to kind of expand his playbook a little bit more, get more guys involved. My only thing is I want to see the tight ends get more involved in the offense because you just haven't seen much of production with Evans, and I don't know if it's due to the ACL injury still being a concern, but not having the tight ends in the offense is really one of the biggest surprises, I think, so far within the season.
Okay.
And I know that.
All right, now let's work our way through this. I've been asking this as well. It was good to see Eli Raridan get in the end zone last week with that, crossing pattern over the middle. That was good to see. But I've been wondering the same question. Number one is, I don't believe Evans is fully back, functional, and totally healthy after his recovery. And I've heard that from a couple other outlets. So that may be a part of it. Let me ask you this. I'm not good enough with X's and O's and maturely watching the game from an X's and O's standpoint to know. Are they asking those guys to stay in and block and chip because the offensive line makes them nervous and you're losing a receiver because you got to have a guy in to block? Is that a part of this as well?
I think that definitely has a lot of, backing when you consider, especially on the left side with Anthony Knapp, man. And his struggles.
Yeah.
Because I think when it comes to Knapp, when it comes to pass pro, if he's got to be isolated one-on-one with a guy, he's just not the typical left tackle size. Excuse me, to be able to kind of hold up his own. So, in a lot of cases, they're probably sending over a tight end just to kind of assist him with, trying to keep everything up, man, without, him getting beat, and then Riley Leonard's running for his life, getting sacked all the time. So that could definitely be a big thing. I think another thing is that going back into the recruiting with the receivers, and I know Denbrock saw the fact that the receivers that we were going after before the season started, how they all went to these other programs. And then, of course, Deuce left. And I think that he probably wanted to make a real emphasis on really trying to feature more of the receivers in the offense to try to market that to guys Because we know, man, like over the years, like tight ends have definitely been a feature part of the offense. Running backs, within the last, you know, 7, 8 years or so has been one of the feature points of the offense. But we haven't seen much of that from the receiving corps. And so I think that's probably one of the other things I'm thinking that Denbrock is just wanting to feature more of the wide receivers in the offense, which it's not a problem. I think, though, that, like, there were a couple of throws that Leonard threw last week that, like, the one with KK Smith, I saw somebody get a clip. Man, he had a beautiful route, man. I'm talking about everything was just golden, man. But it was like an underthrown ball, and he had to come back to the ball. If Leonard would have got that ball out to him before he made that last cut going towards the sideline, I mean, that would have been just, he probably could have took off and gained another 10, 12 yards, if not even, went further than that. But it's just like being able to lead the receivers is what I'm wanting to see more with the quarterback going to the receivers. Like, put these guys in a position where they're like, you're leading them and they're not having to come back to the ball. That's one of the biggest things.
Dude, a lot of people have noticed that too. A lot of those passes we've seen are like stationary, throwing to a guy in a spot, he catches it and that's it. Not a lot of, like you said, where there's available yards after catch, open field in front of them, leading a guy, throwing it before they're open and trusting they're going to get there. Like, those are all next level offensive things that I just don't feel like we've been at that level, or maybe he hasn't been confident enough to be at that level.
Yeah. That's definitely a big point.
So what do you think, man? I feel pretty good tomorrow. Maybe I'm an idiot, but I expect Notre Dame to win tomorrow. I know it's going to be a tough game, but I actually like this spot on the road. I'm not intimidated by the Dome. I feel like the guys are going to be excited to get out and go put on the whites and go win again. I'm ready for it.
Well, I will say this. Freeman knows how to get, for at least this season. I mean, he's gotten teams ready to play on the road. We went to A&M, we won. Purdue, it was that was just a flat out blowout, clinic. And so I will say that Freeman is good at getting these guys ready to play on the road, getting them, and then you don't have to worry about all the distractions that for home games, the night before, whatever stuff they have going on and everything. So that gives them the ability to be able to lock in. And one thing I would say, even with Freeman, man, I've noticed even with the press conferences after Northern Illinois, I just think he realizes that, definitely the honeymoon's over. I mean, it's over.
Yeah.
After the Northern Illinois game. And I think that he's just kind of like, I don't know, some of his looks, man, look like he might be drained or everything.
Well, you could kind of see in his face, man. You could see some of the stress, and I don't think. Yeah. And I think they're messing with him in these press conferences. They're telling him not to say anything. He says a lot of words without saying anything these days. I think he's all backwards in these press conferences. Doesn't look that comfortable. And the media was on edge after Northern, justifiably so. It's frustrating watching him talk. I don't love the pressers. It's just keep winning these games, man. Just keep winning these games.
Just keep winning games, man. That's all we can. That's all I really can ask for, John. At this point, is, man, just keep winning, man. Winning. There's no substitute for winning.
Nope.
There's absolutely no substitute for winning football games. I don't give a snot if it's by 1 point or 30 points. There's no, because
dude, I text that all the time. I tweet that all the time. I'll just tweet, just nothing else around it. I'll just tweet, there is no substitute for winning, and that statement speaks for itself always.
No substitute, John. Because here's the thing: had we kicked the field goal that we missed, and was it the field goal that we missed in the Notre Dame game?
Well, we got a couple blocked.
Yeah. I mean. One was from like 60-some yards, which is okay. Anyways, if we would have just held on and did what we were supposed to do and won that game by 2 points, whatever it is, man. I mean, the bottom line is
everything would have been different. Everything would have been different.
Everything would have been different.
Everything.
Because the bottom line is there's been a W on the side of that game.
Yep.
And so the bottom line, there's no substitute for winning. And Freeman knows, like you said, and many others said, he's got a microscope on him, real tough. Because now you're dealing with a boss who didn't hire you, didn't bring you in.
Yep.
And I think that, whether we see that or not, I think that's another part of pressure that we're not really talking about, is also the fact that he doesn't have that cushion room with his boss that he might have had with Jack.
Yeah, it's a very. I keep bringing it up that it's just an interesting dynamic that Jack hired this guy on the way out, and there's just a different relationship between Bavacqua and this guy now. Dr. John keeps saying I'm making him nervous because I'm expressing confidence in tomorrow. I don't know why I'm saying it. Maybe it's going to burn me. I just feel like Notre Dame's going to play decent tomorrow and win the game. I don't know. Maybe I'm dead wrong.
Yeah. Hey, Dr. John, if John is getting happy and giddy about tomorrow's game, I'm nervous too.
Yeah, no kidding, man. Maybe I need to just shut it down and shut my stupid mouth here. But I just but hear me out. For the first time really in a long time, I actually feel like Notre Dame's offense is trending towards getting better, and that is a big part of my confidence for tomorrow. I honestly feel like I see them getting a little better on offense.
I believe that. And, here's the thing, man. I'm going to say this. We are beginning to see the real fruits of Freeman's recruiting, though. I will say that much. When you look at...
You like the younger guys?
Yeah, man. Oh, man. Leonard Moore, man, that dude, he's going to be a problem.
Young is going to be a monster. Young is just going to be an absolute monster.
Oh, my God, man.
Yeah.
That dude is going to be ferocious on the line, man. So we are seeing the fruits of the recruiting that Freeman's done starting to come to life. And it's going to help us with them getting this kind of experience. And I'm not saying that I hate that these guys got out, are injured for the season or out for the season. But in some aspects, John, this is kind of a little bit of a blessing in disguise to a degree, because think about next season, man. You got all these young guys coming back that have this in-game experience where they got real snaps, they got real life, real-time football time on the field.
Yeah.
And so come back next season having that on their belt to say, I've played, I know what that feels like.
Yep.
And then take it to another level. I think that's really exciting.
That is it is one positive. If you're looking at all the negatives with the injuries and all that, the one positive is a lot of youth and depth have had to contribute, and you're going to be better for that as a program and deeper for that as a program in the next couple of years. It just makes me nervous for what it could do now. That's my problem.
Only thing is, man, I'm going to say this with the Landau guys. I'm going to wait until the end of the season. Once the season's over with, hopefully, I just hope we don't have any more season-ending injuries. But I wonder, does that also raise the concern with some of these injuries? Is any of that related to strength and conditioning and what's being done in terms of maybe some of the things that cause these injuries, or is it just
bad luck?
Just bad luck.
Yeah, I don't know, but someone around Notre Dame needs to ask the questions and look into it. Is it the fake AstroTurf? Is it the Under Armour cleats? Is it bad luck? Is it what we're doing?
I heard those Under Armour cleats are horrible.
Me too.
I heard those.
Me too.
Are probably one of the biggest factors of a lot of the injuries that our players have had over the years, man, since we've had those shoes.
Man, so it makes you nervous, doesn't it?
It does, man. It does. And if I'm Pete Bavacqua, man, I'm looking at all that. I'm investigating to see, man, the history on what Under Armour has done regarding our product, man, and if this is causing some of the injuries that we're getting, especially on field turf, we need to, something needs to change, man, because some of these injuries I just think are preventable injuries. And I think some of that stuff does have something to do with the equipment that our players are having with the shoes and other aspects. But then also, I don't know what their strength conditioning has done. thus far. I see some of the upside in terms of the speed and all that, but on the back end of things, I'm thinking that have also played an effect in some of these injuries as well. Who knows, man? But I just hope that we don't have any more injuries. Injuries
well, and the other thing is you can't afford anymore. Like if you have another corner go down, I don't know what you do. Like you're already down. Like you're already in a bad spot. Like it's so you could get by, but if one more corner goes down, you're in really bad shape. So it's a rough thing, and that's why I'm saying you can't be picky at this point. You just need to scratch and claw any win you can when you're dealing with this kind of thing. Anything else, my friend? Thanks for touching base. It's good to have you circle back in.
Hey, man, nothing else, man. I just call in since I had a day off today and everything. I thought I'd call in and talk to you.
I appreciate that, man. Hey, thanks for touching base with me. Is it cooled off in Arizona yet, or is it 198 degrees still? Yeah. What are we working with?
It's cooled off big time, man. I have I have my sunroof open, man, windows open.
There you go.
The breeze now, man.
Good for you, man. Yep. I'm glad to hear you didn't burn to a crisp this summer out there. Hey, keep in touch, man. Yeah. Keep in touch. Give me a call whenever, okay? Thank you.
All right, man.
Have a good one. Oh, boy. Here we go. It's everybody's favorite. What's going on, 917?
Hey, John, it's Pat from West Palm. Thanks for taking the call.
No problem, Pat. Thanks for being
Okay,
go ahead. I don't want to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, I got to keep it really quick because I'm already late for a meeting. But there was a nice gentleman who called, I guess it was Wednesday, with a 716 number, and he was confused about my phone number. He said that 917 numbers are landlines. He's thinking of 212 numbers in New York, because I am from New York. I moved to Florida about 13 years ago. So if he's listening, he's thinking of 212 numbers. Those were the landlines in New York City.
Gotcha.
917s were the cell phones. He seemed like a really nice guy, and so I just wanted to make sure.
Oh, yeah. Dude, that guy's a newer caller, and he just showed up like this year, and he calls pretty religiously now. Like he calls all the time. Really, really nice guy. And he's, up from the New York area. Really, really nice guy. But yeah, thanks for clarifying that. Anything else on your mind with what your situation last week or looking at the game tomorrow? Whatever you want, man.
No, look, my anger is unchanged from Saturday night. So, look, if anybody wants to debate, I have two conditions. Number one, debate the running up the score issue. Number one, let's schedule it. In other words, we'll do it Monday or Wednesday. It's assuming we're not beating a dead horse already. But so let's debate. Let's just schedule it. I don't care when we do it on your show, but just let me know what time. Second, I'd like to debate somebody that's, not one of these clowns in the chat that make these disgusting sexual jokes and stuff. I'd like to have a real debate. With a clown.
I think that's fair.
I don't know how we schedule that, but you tell me. I got to run. I'm late to a meeting already. But you just tell me, and I'll watch the rest of this show.
Okay.
Later today, but maybe we could do it next Wednesday or something. You pick the date and time, John.
Okay.
I'll be on. Happy to debate. I just don't want to debate somebody with a very low IQ, and it degenerates into some nonsense because it's beneath the show. But I really got to run, John.
Okay.
I apologize. I got to.
No, that's okay. Hey, thanks.
Happy to debate.
Yeah, thanks.
Anytime next week.
Thanks for giving me a call. We'll see if anybody's interested in that, or if it's water under the bridge and we all want to move forward. But I appreciate you holding on here. Get to your meeting and enjoy the games this weekend. Okay.
All right, man. Take care.
Yep. Have a good one, man. That guy's loyal to the cause, though, man. He's loyal to the cause. People may disagree with him or whatever, but he shows up here all the time. I appreciate that. Tom, what's going on? What interesting that Tom's the next caller. What's going on, Tom? You want to talk to this man next week, or is it Tom? Is it water under the bridge, though? But is it water under the bridge? Should we just let the dead horse be deceased, or do we have to revisit this again?
I don't know. I don't know why he poked the bear again. If he's listening here, all I got to tell him is I have very, very vivid memories of the 1985 Miami game. I was there. I was in the Orange Bowl when Notre Dame took that savage beating. And the difference between those games, that Miami and Jimmy Johnson kept their starters in the entire game. They were pulling trick plays at Notre Dame. Notre Dame coughed up the ball 2 times deep in their own territory, and they ran a trick play, a reverse to score on the next play. I mean, he was just piling it on. To equate that to what Notre Dame did to Stanford Saturday is just so off base. So if that is, if I have a low IQ for thinking that, then so be it. Go run along to your little meeting, my friend. God bless you.
But I don't even think he was talking about you. I think he was talking about you weren't in the chat.
No, I know he wasn't.
No, but
Tom,
listen.
For him to say that, for everybody in the chat call it, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We all don't have sheepskins from Notre Dame to lock.
But
okay?
there were people. I'll defend him a little bit. There were people in the chat being like, "Oh, you need to ask your wife if you can put the pants on today." Like there were people saying like jokes about that.
And I understand that. But he's off base. He cannot equate that to the Miami game in '85.
Yeah.
And not only that, these are scholarship athletes, second and third team. A lot of underclassmen. Marcus Freeman wants to see these kids play. It's as simple as that. It's football.
Yeah.
It is. You know what? And you know what? Had the shoe been on the other foot, Stanford would have done the same thing to Notre Dame.
Yeah.
So
it's
I don't know.
All right, Tom.
Anyway.
I want to know what you feel about tomorrow. People are starting to get creeped out, Tom, because I'm feeling good about the game. I'm feeling good about it, and everybody's going, John, since when are you the one that feels pretty good about it? Like, but I do. I think this is a good spot for Notre Dame. I don't mind going to this dome. I'm not afraid of it. I'm ready for Notre Dame to play good, Tom. What do you think?
Well, I am too. Look. They do some things that are very Northern Illinois-ish. Their offense does.
Yeah.
Meaning they'll do a lot of jet sweeps.
A lot of motion, a lot of movement, a lot of eye candy, a lot of this and that. Yeah.
So there's got to be some eye discipline. Our inside linebackers are not going to get caught out of position like they did
against Northern.
Remember that first long run? Yep. Yeah. They're not going to be out of position for that.
And you know what? Now, Tom, here's the next step of that is that isn't just important to beat Georgia Tech. If you want to beat Navy and Army, you're going to need those linebackers and everybody to stay in their gaps and everything too. So this is all building on what's coming. And that's in my mind too, as far as that discipline, it's all there.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. It's going to be a lot closer than people think it is.
Ooh.
With Haynes King and with not. I think Notre Dame wins, like I said, 31-21, something like that. Maybe 28-20, something like that.
Yeah.
Because it is going to be on the road. And it's not a Notre Dame home game.
Correct.
Let me tell you something. Anytime Notre Dame has gone down to Atlanta, whether they played at Bobby Dodd Stadium on campus at Georgia Tech or played them off-site, they hate Notre Dame down there. That is vehement hate. I can remember when they pulled a trick. My first Notre Dame game ever was the 1977 Georgia Tech Notre Dame game at Notre Dame Stadium when they beat them 69-14. The following year, Montana's senior year, they go down there and they're in a game of their life. Well, and they played them on campus, and what they did, they took all the students from the Georgia Tech side and they put them behind the Notre Dame bench, and they were throwing dead mackerels and empty whiskey bottles at the team the entire whole game.
He said dead mackerels.
I'm not kidding you. They were calling them mackerel snappers. All the Catholic hate. Oh, yeah. That went on. That's a true story. Dig into the dig into the archives and you'll find stories from that game.
Now, Tom,
brutal.
what do you make of this? Somebody said Georgia Tech's planning on wearing white. Does that mean we get to wear the home blues? It's almost setting up like a Shamrock game then. It's weird.
I hope so. I you know what? If they wear white, I don't care. It'll be a whiteout. That means that the blood will show up a lot easier on their uniform.
Tom,
I hope they just beat the piss out of them.
Do you think it helps or hurts Georgia Tech to be the home game and have this game moved to the Atlanta Mercedes-Benz Stadium Dome and not on campus? What do you think would be more favorable? If I was them, I would want it on campus personally. That's just me, though.
No, I would too.
I like that vibe. I want that vibe
for the bigger payday. Yeah, because that Bobby Dodd Stadium it only holds about 52,000 people or 50,000, somewhere in there, and it can be a snake pit. It really can.
Yep.
So they lose a little home field advantage for a bigger payday at the Dome, but there's got to be a lot of Notre Dame fans that are. I know that earlier in the week they were selling tickets at face value. I found out.
Okay, so then that suggests that they haven't filled up that building and they're not moving them as quick, right?
Well, yeah. Plus, there's a lot more Notre Dame alumni and fans that have moved to the southeast that are within a 3 or 4 hour ride.
Yeah, it's a good point. And Atlanta's a big city, man. There's a bunch of Irish Catholics somewhere near there. There's got to be.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of big corporations down there. So anywhere from North Carolina there, I'm sure there's going to be quite a few Notre Dame fans there. I don't know, but yeah. So hopefully they
Nick
Dean
they're
going to be able to run the football.
Nick Dean saying the stadium's only like a mile away from their campus. They're going to walk there. I still don't feel like it's going to be the same vibe though, being in this dome than in that outdoor stadium or whatever. And I don't know why that's in my head. Even if it's close, it's just not. When you move it off campus, it doesn't have the same feel. There's nothing you could do to replicate that on campus stadium feel. You can't replicate it. And I'm never an advocate for moving games you can have at your home stadium in your campus off it, even for a big payday. I don't love it.
Yeah. Well, I agree. I tend to agree.
But then again, we lost to Northern Illinois at our home field, so maybe it isn't such an advantage. What the hell do I know? Maybe I don't know anything.
God, I know.
Maybe I don't know anything, Tom. Maybe I'm losing my mind. I don't know.
Well, I want to know, does anybody know if Jeter, our kicker, is back? Because I saw him on the depth chart.
I think people are saying he's out. Everything I've heard is he's injured and out, so you better get your 4th down plays ready and plan for 3rd and 4th down to be 2 plays, baby. We're going for it.
Well, so then that's the other 2 kickers. So they got the kid from Glenbard West High School, the Italian last name. I can't remember his last name. And then Dwight Yoakam's nephew, the country singer's nephew, Yoakam, the kicker.
Yeah,
I like to call him Dwight Yoakam's nephew because
that's funny.
How many people do you know by the name of Yoakam?
Yeah, that's funny. But I'm dead serious though. If you know you're limited there, you need to plan to be more aggressive and use those final 2 downs to be going for it at certain points in the field. And you need Denbrock to plan for that. I'm already really thinking about it.
Well, hopefully, that's kind of like Holtz used to say, when you go on the road, you bring your defense, your discipline, and your kicking game. Well, we already know the kicking game's a little bit depleted because of Jeter being out, and that punter still leaves a lot to be desired. Now, you're in a dome, for God's sake.
Yeah.
There should be no excuses for you not to be able to boom one, or at least put one in the coffin corner. I hope Notre Dame doesn't need him to flip the field a few times tomorrow.
Yeah.
But with the offense, I just still think what Denbrock did last week, he showed the 3-headed monster where he can put the deuce backfield of Love and Price and Riley Leonard in the same backfield at the same time.
Yep.
I mean, that's going to be tough for anybody to defend. So if he winds up with 21 personnel, 22 personnel, and then and can run more RPO off of that, they're going to be tough to stop. So I hope they run the ball down their throat.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. Listen, Notre Dame is right in the playoff hunt. All these games matter. There's a lot to root for, a lot to cheer for. Be excited. I don't know why I feel good about it. I hope I'm not regretting this on the post-game show tomorrow.
Yeah, me too.
You know, but I do. I genuinely feel like Notre Dame's offense is trending up, and I haven't felt that most of the year. Like, I think that's going to come into play. I think they're gaining confidence. And we'll see. Anything else, Tom? Thanks for the call before game day. Be sure to call me on the post-game show or Monday.
Yeah, I hope Mills and Cross and Rubio really step up tomorrow.
Yeah,
we're going to need them tomorrow badly.
Yep. So yeah,
that's all I got.
It's gonna be a big one, man. We're in a chase now, a 6-week battle for our playoff lives. It's gonna be exciting. Tom, thanks. It's always good to touch base with you, man. Enjoy the game and the rest of the college football slate. Okay.
Okay.
Take care,
guys.
Tom.
God bless.
Have a good one. Oh, what a good guy Tom is, man. I love that guy. All right, everybody, that's going to be it. I got some articles to write. I think I'm going to post a show later tonight for you, kind of a preview thing. I did something with Nick the other day. I'm going to post a preview for you so you have something this afternoon, this evening to watch heading into the game. And then we'll be live for the post-game show. Thanks for the calls. Thanks for the donations. Thanks for the chats. Thanks for being here, everybody. Enjoy the game. And you can't win 6 unless you win one more first. Keep winning.